Hey guys, Fishmonger here. I'll be building a mining rig today. Actually, I'll be building this mining rig today. And I do apologize for the audio right now because it's currently being recorded off of the webcam, which I have tethered to a USB cord over there. I'll be fixing that as the video goes on. Now, the bill of materials for this rig is actually pretty simple. I got everything at Home Depot, and I think the total bill ended up being around $8 or $9. You can see the list should be next to me right here if I'm editing this right. And it's not too much. It's just some simple wood. This is some common wood, and I bought some other square dowels that you can buy or whatever they want to call those things at Home Depot, and just some standard drywall screws. I use them for everything. So now that you've seen what we're building and you've seen the bill of materials, let's get chopping.
All right, I just had to leave this shot in here because it's such an epic, great close up of my head and my hat that I could not edit this out. This was my attempt to put the camera in a position that was high enough for it to be able to kind of see what was going on, but then also not really get in my way. And I totally forgot about my head. It just flew over my head, no pun intended, as far as where the camera should be. So a lot of this shot just ended up being kind of pointless. And really, it's just me drawing a line on a piece of wood saying, look, that's the line on the piece of wood. Yeah, that was important for whatever reason. This is, and just actually, I wanted to leave this in here because it is kind of interesting. I have that jigsaw, and I just turned it upside down, and I basically bolted it to the bottom of a metal table. And the saw blades that I have pull up, on a jigsaw. So this is not, there's no risk of this piece of wood popping up on me because the wood, when it's cutting, is always pulling down. It's nice to be able to chop like this. It's essentially similar to a table saw, but I'm just using my jigsaw. Cut my pieces up here. This is all of my pieces pretty much all cut. I've got the 6 11-inch pieces there. Those are the two 16.5-inch the square half-inch dowels, and then basically these are the other 9 pieces that are the 16.5-inch pieces here. They're all just rough cuts right now, and the edge ends up being a little bit on the rough side. So I'm going to clean them up using a what are those things called? I got one of these things. Yeah, one of the what are those? God, it's a bench grinder, right? Bench grinder. Oh, and then also I do endorse safety, so I got my safety goggles on and my mask and all that good stuff. So this is it's a stainless steel wire brush that's attached to the side of a stone, and it actually works really good, that setup, because that way if I ever wanted to use the stainless steel wire brush, it's there, it's always mounted, and the stone is there too. They're never really in each other's way. So in this case, I actually use the stone to take the rough stuff off there on the edge, and then the wire brush to pretty much get the fine grading on there, and it's a nice smooth end. This is a shot. Wow, this is going kind of quick. That metal piece was just a template I made. It was like a little jig that I made up, and essentially all that did was make it so all my holes were all the right length for me when I was marking them. So the wood itself is like 1.75 inches. So there's 2 holes on there that are the same distance away from the end. So when I drill 2 holes on the wood, on the not the lengthwise, but the widthwise or whatever, the holes are equidistant from the ends and stuff. And that's all that was. That was pretty much me just showing that. I got the wood here, and I'm just kind of throwing it all down on the table and clearing myself some room. I don't know why I edit this out, but this goes on for about another 30 seconds. And I'm just kind of showing roughly where I'm going to be placing the wood, and how this is going to get set up. And the way I build my bottom is, you can see there I have, one of the reasons I set this bomb up and the bill of materials up the way I did was because I wanted to just make cutting the wood simple, which is why I only have really 2 different sizes. There's a third size that's just for the bridge the gap for the power supply on the bottom. You'll see that later. But these 16.5-inch pieces and these 11-inch pieces, they assemble together perfectly to make this rig, and it's nice to be able to just use the same style wood. So I'm going to mark off some of my holes here, so I can basically start drilling and then start assembling. I got the holes marked. I'm doing some drilling. And what I'm actually doing is I always drill holes on the outside pieces of wood here that are pretty much the same size as the screw or a little bit larger, because I don't want the screw to be pulling on this piece of wood. I only want it to grab onto the inside piece. This way it takes the outside pieces and they can kind of move freely and move up tight against the inside pieces. So I'm going to get my holes drilled up here. And I've got some of the screws lined up, and I'm going to start screwing these in. I already did, basically I checked this with that angle that you got there, the right angle there. I always check my my angles to make sure I got nice 90-degree angles, because this thing is going to be useless if it's slanted. Nobody wants a slanted mining rig, especially if you're going to stack these on top of each other. It would not be safe. Yep, here I am just kind of shoring up that angle, making sure everything's good. I got some of the wood on there, and I'm holding some of my pieces. This is the other side. As you can see, the far side there is already all screwed together. So this is the opposite side that I'm doing, where I'm basically just making sure this is all nice. And I'm going to drill this screw in and then probably swap right over to the other side, do that up. Yep. So I'm going to put this side in, because I got the other one in there. My table is nice and flat. I'm constantly taking all the extra wood chips and everything off of it to make sure that it's a nice flat level surface, because that's going to ensure that everything I screw together here is also going to be nice 90-degree angles, and the whole thing is actually going to sit flat. You know, one of the worst things you can do is be putting pieces of wood down on a surface that's not flat and then assembling it and then realize that you've just made a non-flat contraption. So I've got the bottom pretty much all screwed together here. I'm going to be marking some holes for the top, because what I end up doing is I have some recessed holes that I use when I'm drilling this way. You can see I'm actually going to be drilling through the width of the wood, and my screws aren't long enough, and I don't feel like going out and getting a different size screw. So what I do is I drill some pilot holes here. These are just going to go through, and then I have, oh, well, I'm also going to drill some pilot holes in the bottom, because I screw these front pieces into that piece on the bottom there also for a little bit of extra stability. And then this piece here, you can see this is a really large, it's almost 3/8 of an inch, not quite, drill bit, and I have a stop on there. So what I do is I'll drill into the wood. You can see all those wood chips coming out, and you can see those holes. That's pretty much the same size as the head on the wood on the drywall screws. So now I can drill in, and when I do that, the screws will be recessed, and you won't actually have the ends of these screws sticking out the front of the wood, and also it allows the screws to go further into the wood that I'm actually trying to drill it into. So I'm just drilling these in, I'm shoring this up, making sure my distance is right on the top and it looks good. There's still a little bit of play on the wood because not everything is all tight. Continuing to the bottom here, it's going to be a little bit repetitive because there's 4 corners, so it's going to be almost the same thing 4 times. It's quite an exciting video. Hopefully the music in the background is entertaining. Hopefully there is music in the background. I might not edit this with music in the background. This is just me tightening these screws up. They're all in, and I'm just kind of getting everything all set, and they look like, I mean, the whole thing is pretty dang sturdy for right now, you can see. Now I've got the top in here. This is the other 11-inch piece, so you can see on the bottom are the 2 11s that are already in there, and then this is the 11-inch piece that's going to bridge the gap on the top. So I'm doing the same thing here where I have the holes, and I'm recessing them, and I'm screwing them in, and I'm just checking to make sure everything has got a good angle, and we look good. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to be screwing these in. So this is going to basically be the top of the rig. Nice and good looking there. And I'm going to get some of my pieces and check to make sure that everything is fitting. They should be fairly snug, and they are, because everything, like I said, was pretty much all cut to be the same exact length. I mean, they fit in there pretty much just nice and snug. Not too tight, not too loose. It's pretty nice. This is the 5.5-inch piece. I'm using this just right now to make sure both sides are the same distance. But this is the piece that I'm going to mount in on the one side here, and it's going to add a little bit of strength just for the power supply that would mount there, or anything that's really heavy on that side there. Basically, it's to the right of the ATX motherboard. So this is going to be, I took it out because when I'm screwing it together, it's a lot easier to do it if it's outside of the rig. Obviously, that one piece of wood was in the way, and on this side, I'm just going to drill that in here, and it should be good. I'm doing 2 screws on the one side and 1 screw on the other. It's probably overkill. I could have just done 1 screw on both sides. These screws are pennies a pop, so it doesn't hurt me too much to use more screws. If anything, the wood is the most expensive thing in this. All right, now I'm making the rack that's going to hold the risers. So I've got my two 11-inch pieces and then my two 16.5-inch pieces. The 11s are going to be on the side. And then again, the 16.5s are going to go the width. And I drilled my pilot holes, and I'm basically putting these screws in. Again, making sure I'm nice and flush, and making sure I got a nice 90-degree angle there. I'm doing 2 screws on here on the front, and I think I'll do 1 screw on the back piece. Because again, there's not really a lot of weight that's on these. They're not going to really see a lot of pressure. Quite honestly, a lot of these positions I had these screws in here, I could have used just 1, except for the external frame. 2 for everything there to make sure it doesn't buckle. But all these other ones here, 1 screw probably would have been plenty. So I got the front piece in, and I'm screwing the back piece in. Did my little pilot hole, and he's going to get screwed in there. Just making sure everything is nice. I'm pushing down hard because I want to make sure everything is nice and flat. Checking my measurements. I think it's 5 inches is the distance from the front to the back there. It ends up being not quite the same length as the risers, but it's good enough where I leave myself some little bit of slack so the screws can go in. All right, so I'm taking this piece and I'm just kind of making sure that it sets in there well. It is a little tight, like I said. I had to kind of push it in. You see me hammering it there, but the fact that it's tight like that is good. I mean, I want it to be, nice and tight. It ensures that everything was cut pretty much the same exact length. So I have him in the middle piece. He's not screwed in. He's just wedged in there right now. And with him wedged in, I'm going to start measuring and putting the bar in. This is the bar that's going to be on the top where the top of the GPUs are going to get screwed into. And what I do here is I'll drill my pilot hole. It's 3 inches is the gap from the top. I'm going to make sure I'm square. And this dowel is actually some pretty dense wood. So I'm drilling a pilot hole directly into this so I can put the screw in, because otherwise there would be no way I can get this screw in. That wood is not going to budge out of the way. All this other common board, I'm not really drilling pilot holes into it. I'm just screwing directly into it. But these 2 pieces here, I am doing pilots just because they are really, really dense wood. So he's going to go in. And I'm going to do the back piece now. So I'm drilling the hole for the back piece, and he's going to get assembled in. This is basically where I just mount the fans on the back that blow against the GPUs. I just zip tie them on. Alright, now, the most important step. I'm measuring the height on this rack that's going to hold the risers in relation to the front piece that's going to hold the front of the GPUs. And the magic number that I've always found is 4.4 inches. So the height, or the difference in height from the top of one piece of wood to the top of the other piece of wood, 4.4 inches. Now, I actually think the spec is... Oh, I didn't take the audio off on this clip. But the spec is a little bit different than that. But what's happening is that you have to account for the fact that there's rubber pieces in the bottom of the risers. So, with the rubber on there, it's probably ends up, I guess it would be 4.5 inches is just the magic round number, but I ended up doing 4.4. It works out good. So here I am just drilling my pilot holes. I'm drilling my screws in. I mean, the rig pretty much is done at this point. It's just a matter of getting these last couple screws in and holding this piece in, and then it's a matter of then I can take my risers and put all my risers on and start screwing them in. So as far as the wood assembly goes, this is pretty much it. This was roughly an hour to build start to finish, and a lot of time was wasted by the fact that I had to constantly switch back and forth between drill bits and screw tips and everything for the drills. I mean, if I had done all the holes first and marked everything first, could have saved myself some time. And I did go back and forth upstairs and downstairs to double check some of the measurements on the existing rig that I had downstairs. So I did waste a little bit of time in that. So I mean, I probably can cut this down to about 40 minutes. Maybe, actually less, I'm sure, because I was doing some editing in between and some moving of the cameras and everything like that. But so this is the last couple of screws. I'm just putting the assembly together here. This is from the back view. They're going on the rack. And that should be it. I think she's all good. So that is the rig. Let me get some photos here showing the final product on after I'm done twirling this around. If you made it this far, I do want to say thank you for watching this video. I know it was kind of boring at times, but this wasn't the easiest thing for me to record and edit. I hope this was helpful to you. As far as making rigs go, showing you how simple it is, and I do sell these things also. So if you're interested in just buying one that's all pre-drilled up and pre-made, send me a message. Let me know. I'll hook you up with good shipping costs and good pricing and everything like that, and save you the trouble of doing everything I just did. So this is Fishmonger signing out. Have a good one.